I have to say, I was going to talk about a book. But somebody stole it. What's that about? So hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Through the Pages with Dee. Today I'm talking about Hence the Beginning, The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This book, I am having a really good run of books at the moment, a really good run. I don't know what it is, whether people's recommendations and I'm just picking up on them and I'm picking the right books, but I have had an excellent run of books, especially this month and last month. Fantastic books. Not one single book I can complain about, really. You know me, I complain about endings, but with this book, amazing book. So, what's it about, Dee? Literally about Nazi Germany and everything that went on there. So, let's start with the characters. So, your narrator within this book is actually Death. So the Grim Reaper is actually the narrator of this book. And on occasion, he speaks for himself in this book, or herself, however Grim Reaper may be, or them, or, I don't know. But the seemingly main character within the book is Liesel, or Liesel, however you say her name. I've been saying it as Liesel. And she is a young girl within Nazi Germany. Some things happened basically with her mum, and her brother are being shipped off to a different part of Germany because it seems her mum has to kind of go on the run. And on the train journey to the other destination, her brother passes away. He's got this really bad cough and he's quite ill and he passes away. So straight away we're hit with grief with the brother. And then at the funeral of the brother, Liesel is acting out her sort of, what's the word I want? Her grief in this situation. And she starts digging away at the floor. And as she's doing this, she actually comes across a book. And it's called The Grave Digger's Guide. At this point, she can't read. So she goes to the house of the Hubermans. And this is where she's going to stay now. This is her new adopted home. And she's there with Hans Huberman and Rosa Huberman. Rosa is a little bit of a tyrant. She rules with a wooden spoon, shall we say. But Hans is the epitome of a father. He is just one of the most beautiful characters in this book. He is amazing. So she moves into this home. Obviously, she's reluctant. She's still grieving for her brother. She's obviously grieving the loss of her mum now. And she's with these strangers. And there's a war going on. And she's just this lost child in this lost sort of environment and doesn't know what to do with herself. But she seeks solace within this book. Now, she begins to have nightmares, reoccurring nightmares about her brother's death on the train. And she keeps waking up in night terrors every night. And who becomes her papa, comes into the room and every night sort of eases her back into her sleep. But what they start to do is eventually he spots this book, he finds it. She thinks she's going to get in trouble for having it, but he eventually spots this book. So he asks her, would you like to be able to read it? And she says yes. So he says he's not a very good reader himself, to which his wife makes comedy of and says, well, of course you're not, you're pretty stupid. There's German words used in this book. I'm not going to say them because I can't pronounce them. I kind of got through them, reading it internally, in my internal monologue, but I wouldn't say them because I wouldn't want to insult anybody by pronouncing them wrong, because I probably would. However, there are words within this book where she calls people like a pig or their version of kind of swearing. So, eventually, Papa and Liesel start to read The Gravedigger's Guide. And it does help Liesel go back to sleep. It helps her ease and calm and feel more relaxed in her environment. And eventually it comes to the point where Rosa approaches Liesel and tells her that now she wants Liesel to start calling them Mama and Papa. She's a little bit dubious about starting to call Rose her mama, but because of the way that Hans treats her, she's able to adjust to the papa very, very easily. The relationship between Liesel and Hans is so, so beautiful. I have cried through this entire book. I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment. Maybe turning 45 had an effect on me. I don't think I'm going through the menopause. I have no signs of that. Too much information possibly, but I don't think I am. However, this book has made me cry more tears than anything I've read recently. It really has. It's touched me on a level that is surprising to me. I know of Nazi Germany and I know all of those things. I did history at school. I did all about Nazi Germany. Obviously, you don't delve into it, but you do talk about it, and I did a GCSE for it, so I do know some about it. But to actually take it from the aspect of somebody there and read that context of how everybody was within that time. And I'm not talking about taking sides. What I'm talking about is the amount of innocent lives taken in this hideous pursuit of leadership. It really brings it home. Like a lot of other books I've read recently, like Kindred and The Reluctant Fundamentalist, how you have that real life grit and it comes through in a book. This is the same. The Book Thief is real life grit coming through in a book. And I've cried so much. But I want a book to do that to me. Maybe I'm a little bit sadomasochistic and I like to punish myself. I don't know. Next thing you know, I'll be telling you on a video that I'm self-flagellating because, that's drove me there. I hope not, because that would hurt. But I kind of want a book to do that to me. I kind of want it to make me feel uncomfortable. I want it to take me to that place where I'm in that uncomfortable zone and I'm feeling what they're feeling. I want it to be written in a way that I'm there. I can smell the smells. I can feel the feels. I can see the people. And this has done that. This has not failed. This is another book that has succeeded to make me go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what I just read. I cannot believe how moved I've been by it. I've actually even, and I don't often do this, but I have marked off pages because I want to share them with you guys. But I think I want to talk a little bit more first. So Liesel, as she's growing up in this new home of the humans, she meets a boy called Rudy. And Rudy has a little bit of a thing for her. And every time he sort of does her a good turn, he asks, is it now his time to get a kiss? And she keeps putting it off. Without giving too much away, the time does come where she does give Rudy the kiss. And again, at that, I cried. The way that Markus Zusak, I'm just looking so I make sure I get his name right, Markus Zusak, has written this book, it is stunning. And all I can say is if you have The Book Thief on your TBR, or you've maybe gone into your local bookshop and seen it and thought, oh, I wonder what that's about, and haven't given it the time of day, I'll get that. Get it. You will not be disappointed. If you are looking for something that's going to make you feel the feels, then get The Book Thief. I highly, highly recommend this. It's so good. So, I'm going to do a little excerpt as to explain just how beautiful the prose is. Just how beautiful it is. So, to set the scene, we have encountered a Jewish runaway. He is basically known to Hans. Hans was in the war with this gentleman's father, and the father died. And the father taught Hans how to play the accordion, and actually gave him and left him with his accordion. So when he dies in the war, Hans goes back to his home where his wife is to give the accordion back. But the wife has a house full of accordions and says, on one hand, she loves them all, but on the other, they're too traumatic, and really she doesn't want that kind of reminder because she is surrounded by them. So Hans takes the accordion back, but in the process, he does give her his name and address and says, if there's anything you ever need, here's where I am. This then gets passed on to Max. And Max uses this as his safe haven to get out of where he is. And he makes the trip after a long time of hiding and being scared that the Nazis are going to find him and send him to the concentration camps. He eventually finds 33 Himmel Street, which is where most of this story is based. He gets there, Hans opens the door, and they bring him in. And they hide him in the basement for quite some time. But he gets quite poorly. He's obviously been exposed to different degrees of temperature and different sort of environments, and it's had an effect on his health. And obviously, he's not eaten very much. He's been living in obviously strenuous circumstances, taking what bits and pieces he can from what people or his friend has given him, who's been hiding him. So he's not in the best state of fitness as it is. But the basement that he's also sleeping in is very, very cold. And the family say, even though we must hide you at night, come upstairs and we'll light the fire and you can sleep in front of the fire until it burns out. And then in the morning, he goes back down to the basement. So he gets ill. And they put him into Lysol's bed because it's the only way that they can keep the curtains closed without questions being answered. So I assume from that Lysol is at the back of the house, because otherwise he would be in the parents' bedroom. But they can't do that because it would form too many questions at the front of the house for the curtains to constantly stay closed. So they put him into Lysol's bed. But over the course of him being there, Lysol slowly but surely grows a relationship with Max, and he's very touched by this young girl, and she's very concerned for him when he gets ill, and she starts bringing him trinkets and gifts because he asks her to describe to him what the weather's like outside, and she comes back with reports but she puts them in a very storyteller way that keep Max enthralled in what the outside world potentially looks like now, because for a while now he hasn't seen it. He's been hidden in the shadows. He's been travelling at night. He's been under the cover of darkness for quite some time. He's in the basement now, so he's not seen what the world actually looks like. And now he's ill. And he's not waking up. So there is this sort of fear that is he going to die. But I just want to read you this quick little excerpt, if I may, to how this author has put this. So in the morning, Lysol brought him his sketchbook from the basement and placed it on the bedside table. She felt awful for having looked at it the previous year, and this time she kept it firmly closed out of respect. When Papa came in, she did not turn to face him, but talked across Max Vandenberg at the wall. "Why did I have to bring all that snow down?" she asked. "It all started all this, Papa, didn't it?" She clenched her hands as if to pray. "Why did I have to build that snowman?" Papa, to his enduring credit, was adamant. "Lysol," he said, "you had to." For hours she sat with him, and this is where it got me. As he shivered and slept, "Don't die," she whispered. "Please, Max, just don't die." He was the second snowman to be melting away before her eyes, only this one was different. It was a paradox. The colder he became, the more he melted. I had to mark that off. I had to, because what a comparison to make as to how, yes, it was snowing outside, and to show Max what snow was like, she brought it down into the basement, and then she collected quite a lot of it, and so they could have fun. They built a snowman in the basement, and it melted. They didn't think the basement was that warm, but it turns out it was warmer than the outside, so the snow melted. And then to make the comparison of Max too being that cold that he's a snowman, but the thing is that he's actually melting within. I just found those words so beautiful. I actually teared up, and I put the book down, marked my page, put the book down, and I was like, that, what a way to put that, what a way to use prose and describe that moment. And there's more. That's not the only one. There's lots and lots of them. I mean, because Max knows that Lysol is an avid reader, he creates a book for her, and it's so beautiful. It's actually illustrated in the book as to how he does this book. I haven't marked off the page, but I should easily be able to find it just to give you an idea. She says, flicking through pages and not seeing it. I don't think it's too far back. It should be quite close to the beginning. Because Lysol has a birthday. It's clearly not there then. She has a birthday and she actually hugs Max, and he hasn't given her anything. He feels quite bad because he's got nothing to give her. And the one book that he clings on to is the Hitler book. I can't remember. Is it Mein Kampf? And he rips pages out of there and uses paint to cover up the pages. And because Lysol thinks that that Max's hair looks like feathers, he actually draws himself as a crow and tells this story of how he's been affected by his nightmares, because they share their nightmare stories with each other. Lysol tells Max about her nightmares and Max tells Lysol about his. And he actually does her this book to say that for the entirety of his life while he's been hiding, he's felt like there's a man standing over him waiting to get him. And now he doesn't feel that way. Now he feels that Lysol stands over him to protect him. And this is just some of the beauty of this book. Then there's another section where, so whilst Max is poorly, Lysol has asked her mum, Rosa, to let her know the minute Max wakes up, because he's just not waking up. Lysol reads to him every single night and he's just not waking up. So she says to her mama, please let me know. The minute that Max is awake, please let me know. But she says, but if I'm playing outside, make it as though you're shouting at me, like you're telling me off, and I'll come straight away so you can tell me. So her mum goes to Lysol's school and starts yelling at her over her hairbrush. She shows up at the school and her hair's a mess. And this isn't normally the case for Rosa. Normally her hair is scraped back in this perfect bun, but her hair's not like this day. She's dressed very nicely, very smartly, but her hair is a mess. So she starts shouting at Lysol about the state of her hair and where's her hairbrush, and giving her a good shouting at in the corridor. And then as she's doing this, the tirade went on for perhaps another minute, with Lysol making a desperate suggestion or two about the possible location of the said brush. It ended abruptly with Rosa pulling Lysol close. Just for a few seconds, her whisper was almost impossible to hear, even at such close proximity. You told me to yell at you. You said that all. You said they'd all believe it. She looked left and right, her voice like needle and thread. He woke up, Lysol. He's awake. From her pocket she pulled the toy soldier with the scratched exterior. He said to give you this. It was his favourite. She handed it over, held her arms tightly and smiled. Before Lysol had a chance to answer, she finished it off. Well, answer me. Do you have any other idea where you might have left it? So she started shouting at her again. So there's another example of how beautifully they put on this facade of an argument, or of Lysol getting a telling off for the location of the brush and how it's gone missing. And her mum's actually gone to the extent of walking to the school with her hair a mess, which wouldn't normally be the case, just purely to tell Lysol that Max is awake, and to give her some peace of mind that yes, they've nurtured him back to health, and she found this toy soldier in the street and she's left it on the bed for Max for when he wakes up, and he said, give that back to Lysol to let her know that it was one of my favourites. It's just certain sections in the book, and there's a lot of them that are like that, where it's so moving and I'm like, oh my. And I have to close and I have to give it a second. And I love a book that does that to me. I adore a book that does that to me, that makes me stop and go, wow, what did I just read? That was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. There's just lots of them, especially between Lysol and Hans and Lysol and Max. There's a very touching scene later on, which I'm not going to say too many scenes because it's massively kind of spoiler towards the book, and I don't want to do that. I'm not a spoiler person. I try and stay clear as much as I can from spoilers, because my whole intention is to do these reviews to give you some insight as to a book you may have walked past, potentially glanced at and gone, oh, that title looks quite enticing, I might give that a chance at some point. But it's for me to go, well, if you've looked, for instance, at The Book Thief, I'm giving you the insight as to what it is you're looking at, because you can look at the back and you can read the blurb and it doesn't really give you much of an insight. And then sometimes you might not have anybody to talk to about books, and it may be a case of, well, I don't know if this book's going to be any good. I'm here to say The Book Thief is amazing. It's such an amazing book. I can't believe I've read yet another amazing book. I'm on a roll and I love it. It's so good. Yet I kind of, in a way, want to read something that's not. So, I don't know. So, I just don't have this ultimate choice of good books. And then at the end of the year, I've got to pick my book for 2024. And I'm like, I don't know what choice I can make. Because, I said The Spear Cuts Through Water is a contender. So is Kindred. So is Born in Fury, because it's a debut novel. So is The Book Thief now. So I'm in this position where, what do I do? I've got so many books that I've read that are amazing. So we have another scene closer to the end of the book where Lysol and Rudy they've just come out of the house where they're hiding in the basement, and they see that further through the woods there's a plane that's crashed, and Rudy goes running straight for it, and Lysol's sort of shouting him to come back, but she follows him anyway, because the best is. So she follows him anyway. And he's got this toolbox with him, and it's explained in the book why he's got the toolbox. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much, but there's certain things I have to tell you about for how they affected me. In fact, I'm not telling you the half of how it's affected me, because this book has just been amazing, and I've done an awful lot of crying. Not necessarily bad tears. I've cried heartwarming tears, because I've been like, oh my God, that was so touching. It was so touching and so real. The way it's been explained is so real. And that is what, for me, makes an astounding book, is when it's real. When you can feel it and you can smell it and taste it. It's real. And I love that. So they approach this plane. And obviously, odds given, it's going to be a British pilot. So when they get there, there is the guy's there, but he's kind of still alive at this point. And within his toolbox, Rudy has a teddy bear. And this is what I mean by when I say, you can only understand it by reading it, because you weren't there. So potentially from the point of view of maybe somebody that was there, or somebody that's heard tales of that time, it's like, wow, I bet it was like that. I bet there was that element of humanity. So Rudy goes in his toolbox, and there's a teddy in there, and he takes out the teddy and he actually puts it next to the pilot. And the pilot, it's sort of touching the pilot's cheek and his neck. And the pilot says thank you, and then passes. And Death is telling this tale. And Death then says, I went into the cockpit and I took hold of this soul and I carried it away. And when he talks about the children and the amount of bodies that he's had to move in this time, he talks of how he handles the children and how, some he puts over his shoulder, where when he's dealing with a child, he always carries it within his arms, as it should be carried. And it is just, it's so moving. It's so moving. It's fantastic. And I'm so very glad to Josh. I did a video where I did come with me to Waterstones. We went to the Deansgate Waterstones, and I stopped two shoppers, Kate and Josh, even though through the entire video I was calling her Katie, and I don't know why, because her name's Kate, because I'm 47 and I'm losing my marbles. But and Josh actually recommended this book, The Book Thief. It was Josh's recommendation, and he gave a little brief outline as to what it's like. If you heard it on the video, we was filming on my phone, so the quality was pretty poor, but I really wanted to put it in there and say, it's quite rare to get people to stop and have a conversation with you, so I was overwhelmed that the guy stopped and we had a conversation. So I really needed for that to put on, because it was amazing that these two people took time out of the day to actually converse with me about books. And this was Josh's recommendation. And Josh, if you see this, perfect. I enjoyed this. You never know the right word to use when you're talking about a book like this, when it's got so much pain and anguish in it, but so much reality, and you know that this happened. This is an historical fact. This happened. You never know how quite to say that you appreciate what was written. And I suppose that's it, really. You appreciate what was written. You can throw yourself back to that time and put yourself in those surroundings and say, how would I have reacted in that moment? Similar to how I did in Kindred and the Reluctant Fundamentalist. How would I have reacted in that moment? And I would have most definitely reacted same way as Hans does, same way as Liesl does. I would have done those things regardless. And I'm not saying what, but they did certain things and they got punished for it. And I would have taken that risk too. Because I believe in humanity. I believe in my fellow man. I don't tar everyone with the same brush. I believe that regardless of colour and religion and whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We all run with blood. All our blood is blue on the inside and red when it comes out. We don't need to be segregating as a species. We are a species of the same. We are all human. And of course I would run to the aid of anyone. It wouldn't matter. I would just run to the aid of them. And that is what Hans and Liesl do in this book. Because obviously the Jews are being paced through the streets and shown as like made sort of a show off to say, look, from the Nazi regime, look how we're getting rid of what they called lesser humans than them, and marching them through the streets to make an example of them, and on the way to taking them to concentration camps. And it's just appalling. It's absolutely appalling. You know, I don't know. I don't know how people coped. I really don't know how people survived through those times. But they did. And they're here still, some of them to tell the tale. You know, my dad was born in 1940. He was a war baby. Similar circumstances happened to him. He was evacuated from where he was in Plymouth and sent to London, and he was orphaned. And he had a horrendous childhood. But these things happened. They were real. And this book it brings beauty out of trauma. It really does. It takes the relationship of Hans and Liesl and shows you the beauty of it. It shows you the beauty of the relationship between Liesl and Max. It shows you the beauty of the friendship between Liesl and Rudy, and just how far Rudy will go for Liesl, just how much he'll put himself in the front of the onslaught to Liesl to protect her. And then really just how sweethearted Rosa is as well. She's not this tyrant that she comes across as. She does actually have a lot of love for Liesl. And Hansel's he's such a good-hearted man. Such a good-hearted man. And because he fought in the war, and his friend was Jewish, he doesn't have this Hitler opinion on what people should be. What this, what did he call it? I can't think of the word, but this Aaron species, I can't remember what the words are, but it was like the blonde hair, the blue eyes. Hans doesn't see people like that. He sees people for people. And he fought in a war alongside this man, and he was gutted that he couldn't do anything for him. So he then passed it on to the family, and it comes to fruition. The son comes to be given sort of safe haven, and he does, right up until he can't anymore, and Max has to leave. And then they're all worried about Max then, and whether they made the right choice in letting him go or not. So then Liesl is constantly, every time there's a march going through the city in their particular street, she's constantly on the lookout for Max. She's looking to see if they've caught him, if they've got him. Sadly, they do eventually catch him, and she finds him in the crowd. It's just amazing. Amazing. Reel it in, Dee. I'm getting emotional about it again. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with me. I'm just like a big crybaby. Big crybaby, and I don't know what that is. I think the older I get, the more in tune with my emotions I get. And I'm just sort of constantly have this attitude of how I want to make the world a better place. And obviously, as a one person, I'm not going to achieve that on my own. But what I certainly can do is I can give out the attitude and the respect to people that they deserve, and not make any snap judgments about anyone, and certainly reach out to people as a friend and not an enemy. And yeah, this book was just amazing. It really, really touched me. And as I say, if you're looking in your bookshops and you see it, I don't know if this is the UK cover, but this is what it looks like. The Book Thief, Markus Zusak. I highly, highly recommend. I can't sing its praises enough. I just flew through it. It's such a page turner. It brings out every single emotion there is in you. You're laughing, you're crying, you're smiling, you're feared, you panic, you start getting scared for the characters. The arc of Lysol is amazing. The little transitions that she makes, the themes within it. It's just an amazing, amazing book. It's so good. 5. I don't want to say stars anymore. I was watching Darko's video this morning, Kindles and Kicks. You all know who that is. If you don't, please go there. Check out my good buddy, my BFF Darko. He is amazing. Absolutely amazing. He's again convinced me yet again to spend money on another book. Viola Davis, Finding Me. Now I need to read that. I already have. Can I just say, Darko, I already have Guy Gavriel Kay, Song for Our Born. I've got that. It's a bit of a chonker. Don't think I'm going to fit it in this month. And I've also dedicated May to Malazan. So it may be June before I get to that. But I have it. So just from your say-so, those 2 books will be getting read at my earliest convenience. Because I trust you wholeheartedly. You did the review on Kindred, and I absolutely adored that book. Same as I trust Eva and John and Britton. Every single book I've read from you guys has been amazing. So go over and check out Darko. His review that he just did today, sublime, about his 3 books. It wasn't a review, it was what he read in March, and he was a little bit disappointed because he only read 3. However, the 3 that he did read made this massive impact on him. Spear Cut Through Water, I have to agree, I've read that myself, and we'll be on with Eva soon, talking about that, myself and Darko, Usman and Eva, I believe. And the Viola Davis, I'm going to get that one. I don't have it, but I'm going to get it and I'm going to read it. But Darko has decided to not do stars. He's decided to do fireballs. Now, I'm not going to copy, but what an awesome idea. I need to come up with something now. So in the comments, guys, if you can think of something that suits me, of what I can do in ratings as. Don't want to do stars anymore. Darko's doing fireballs, which I think is amazing. So I need something that says D. So what can I have? I don't want to do stars anymore, and I want to give this book a 5 something. So what can we have? What says me? 5 what? What can we have? Let me know in the comments. I'd love that. Let me know your ideas of what my 5 thingies can be. That'd be great. And then my winner of the Grady Hendrix Ida, she's received her book, so we're going to be doing a buddy read of that too. And then I think I'm going to be moving on to Beyond Redemption, because I'm on a roll and I don't want to stop that roll. We're doing well with these books right now and I'm loving it. So other than that, I've had a great time. I did my 3 books at the weekend, which was The Therapist book, Dr. Harper. I also did Ida's book, which is The Artificial Structure Formerly Known as the Moon, which was great sci-fi. And I finished off Born in Fury by Moshe Winter. And then on Monday, I reviewed The Reluctant Fundamentalist, which is there. And today, The Book Thief. So I'm doing quite well. We're doing all right. For April, we're doing all right. We're chugging along. We're doing okay. So that's me for today. It's Friday, so I hope you guys have got a great weekend planned. I haven't, other than my daughter turning 21, which is very scary, but hey, there you go. They grow. What can you do? Nearly at 80 subscribers. Wow. wow. I don't know what to say to that. Thank you so much. It's not something that I thought I'd see, but there it is. I think it's 78, so we're not far off. If we get to 100, we'll do something for that. As yet, I don't know what that will be, but we will do something to celebrate. It's just amazing to think that there's actually that many people that potentially can see my content. It's. I think of it like this: if I was in a room and that many people were sat in front of me, would I be that confident? I probably would, to be fair, because I'm not that shy. But still, the thought process of that many people in a room and now do a review about a book while everybody's looking at you, because I'm right now just looking at a camera. But imagine you in a room with 78 people all looking at you, and it's like, come on, Dee, tell us about the book. Off you pop, and you're like, oh, yeah, that. So I try not to think about that, but I am very appreciative of everybody that's there. We have a book family now. It's amazing. It's growing. Also, Darko, I love you so much. You gave me that shout out in the video that you've just done about the spear cuts through water. You don't have to do that, but you did, and I love you for it. You know I love you. You are my YouTube bestie, and I love you so much. And yeah, so I did an ode to BookTube, because there's so many BookTubers that I think the world of. They just brighten my day when I watch them, and when you talk to them in the comments, or if you find them where you can privately chat, they just give you such positive feedback, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing community, so I'm so grateful for it. And I'm especially grateful to have found Darko, because he is my bestie. I feel like I've known him in another life, and it's just such an amazing feeling to have that feeling about somebody. It's so good. So, all that mushy stuff done with, and I won't keep boring you with my sentimentality, but thank you to everyone. If you know somebody who might like my content, just send them on over, and they can click it down here, the likes and subscribes, and please go and watch the other booktubers who I've mentioned, and because they're amazing, the content's amazing, and send some big loves and hugs to Darko, because he's amazing. So I will see you all probably Monday now. Have yourselves a great weekend, and as usual, I've been Dee, and this is Through the Pages. Bye bye.